Token is really the best event in the crypto space that I have ever attended, which is why I come back every single year. And I come back every single year because every time I return to a token event, either as an attendee or as a speaker or an exhibitor, I always learn something new. 1 year in human years is like I don't know how many years in crypto years, and we always learn something new. I always learn a new piece of technology, I learn a new jargon, I learn a new way to trade, I learn a new thing that market makers are doing. There's so many new technical things that I learn every time I come to a token event. But if you ask me, and there's one thing that I wish I could learn a little bit more on, is about community. Mike Novogratz, the CEO and founder of Galaxy Digital, said, "Value is not in the technology. Value is a social construct." And to me, that actually means that value is in the community and not more in the technology. But let me have a few minutes to share more with you why I say so. Now, before I show the next slide, I just want to have a show of hands. Just one very quick question. If you are making money right now in your portfolio, just please raise your hands. Even if it's like 0.1%. Yeah, okay, so nobody's raised their hands clearly because we're now in the longest bear market ever. This bear market, if you don't know already, has lasted over 500 days. And there are 3 cycles of the most recent bear markets that we have been through. And the question that I really ask myself almost every single day, and I discuss with my friends, is despite 3 bear cycles, what have we actually learned? What have we actually learned in these 3 cycles? And especially now in the longer cycle. We have improved technology, we have made change cheaper and quicker, but what else? What else have we actually learned from this cycle? So I like to ask myself these questions as I go through stages in my life, and I started, similar to many of you here in this space, in the TradeFi space. That was when I was young and naive enough to actually put on a suit. So I lived in Dubai for a couple of years. I did a lot of consulting work. I did a lot of Islamic finance structuring. But there were a lot of consultants like me there back in those days. So I asked myself, what was the true value that I was giving to my clients? Why are they paying me? Why are they not paying a competitor? And the answer that I got for myself wasn't because of my regulatory knowledge, it wasn't because of the Islamic finance knowledge, it was really because I had the connections that they needed to be connected to, and I was willing to share them. So that was my value when I was living there in the Middle East. Then when I moved back to Singapore, I started an events company. We've run over 3,000 events since then, it's over a decade then. But when we first started, we were tiny, and there are hundreds, if not thousands, of event companies in Singapore. Same question I asked myself. What is the real value that we give to our clients? Why are they paying us instead of our competitors, the thousands of them out there in the same country? And the answer I got was because we found a way to create events that allowed our clients and their participants to connect like what we're doing here at Token and to build very strong, very genuine relationships. That was the value that I gave to my clients in the event space. Now, 2.5 years, 3 years ago, I started a play-to-earn guild in the Axie Infinity space with my co-founder Wesley. And same thing, there were a few hundred guilds, if not thousands of guilds, even during those days, especially during those play-to-earn boom days. And I asked myself and my partner, what's the value that we give? Who are we giving this value to? Are we giving value to ourselves, to the investors, to the industry? Where is the value that we're providing? And the answer that we gave to ourselves was the value we gave was to the scholars who were playing for us in our guild, and the value was impact. We made their lives better. We gave them an opportunity to earn money, to take care of themselves, and also to take care of their family. So if you don't know by now, this question of where does value come from is a very, very important question to me in everything that I do. Now, I ask this question and apply it to the Web3 space. Remember, 3 bear cycles, longest bear cycle ever, what have we learned? And I thought, why don't we go back to this principle and ask, where is the value actually in this Web3 space, regardless of what we are doing here, regardless of how we are contributing to this new industry? And I've come up with 3 immutable truths of the Web3 space. And the first truth that I've come up with is that both product and going to market is important. Technical ability, marketing, community building ability, they are both equally important. Conferences like this tend to make us feel that the technological aspect is super important and it's really all there is. It is not. But they are both equally important. That's one truth that I've come up with. And the second truth is that tokens, especially if you're running a token project or you actually own tokens, I think the truth is tokens are actually worthless. I mean, what's the fundamentals behind a token, the value of a token? The value is not in the technology, the value is a social construct. That means if you believe this token has value, I believe this token has value, therefore this token has value. Now, if tokens have values because it is a social construct, then the third truth must be true. In a Web3 space, money follows community. Projects that generate value have learned the trick behind building long-lasting communities. They've learned how to build communities, they've learned how to retain and engage with their communities in order for them to expand. Now, these examples here are obviously NFT examples that many of us would be very familiar with. And I think, yeah, sure, an NFT project, clearly it's all about community. So it must be really easy for an NFT project to build and expand their community. So the question then I asked myself was, is there potentially a framework that non-NFT projects can apply when starting a Web3 project or a business in a Web3 space? Is there potentially a framework that can help us expand and engage with our community in order to create value in what we do? And this is what I've put together. I've put together a 4-stage framework. I call it the Community Flywheel. And it's actually quite simple to understand. The 4 stages are collaborate. In the collaboration stage, what you should do, what we should be doing, is we should be finding organizations, we should be finding other projects that are targeting the same group of people, the same community that we are targeting, and find ways to collaborate with them such that there is a symbiotic relationship so that we both grow. That's step number 1. Step number 2 is to incentivize your community. Incentivization takes place on 2 stages. The first stage is to incentivize them to join your community. We're all incentive-driven creatures. You are here, you're sitting at this event, or you're attending this event because it's something that you want. I'm on stage speaking because it's something that I want. There is always something in it for all of us. We are driven by incentives. Therefore, incentives are important to expand and to engage with your community. Now, the third stage in this framework is engage. Engagement, if anything, is definitely the most important quadrant of this flywheel. And the reason is because we have seen so many Web3 projects and businesses attempt to build communities in the shortest possible time, shortest possible way by employing KOLs, influencers, PR agencies, but they never learn how to engage with their community, so basically all that money would have gone down the drain. So engagement is extremely important. And lastly, once we have built a base of collaboration, incentivization, and engagement, then expansion has to be in the plans. We must learn how to encourage our existing community to help us expand the place that they are in. Now, I've brought to you some examples today to cover this framework, so hopefully it helps you understand what I've put together a little bit better. The first example that I've brought is BNB chain. This applies to many other chains that you are familiar with, or your favorite chain that is not BNB chain. But my point is that BNB chain is very good at collaborating with organizations that are of very similar level as them, and who are targeting a very similar group of people, a similar group of customers, similar group of users as them. For example, a couple of years ago, BNB chain collaborated with Google Cloud because Google Cloud is arguably one of the biggest, if not the biggest, cloud hosting infrastructure company in the world. BNB chain obviously belongs to the largest exchange in the world. BNB chain is also heavily involved in PancakeSwap, and the business of a DEX is obviously collaboration. Without collaboration, if projects don't list on a DEX, there is no business. So the point here is to identify who you should collaborate with, if you have, and whether or not you have similar communities that you're targeting, before finding out a way to work together and build up this symbiotic relationship so that you both get a win-win scenario. And the second example that I brought for collaboration is Immutable X, IMX. So I was at a dinner the other day, just 2 days ago, and Robbie was there. So we were all having a conversation. So Robbie, the founder and CEO of IMX, we're just chatting, and he wasn't interested in any conversation that was going on. Honestly, we were just there, and he was just chatting, he had a drink in his hand, that's it. But suddenly there was this guy who joined the conversation and said he was building a GameFi project. He hasn't really launched yet. He's building a GameFi project. He's interested in talking to a chain. Immediately, Robbie's eyes lit up. Immediately, he was interested in that conversation because he had only one metric in mind. His one metric for collaboration, he was very clear who he wanted to collaborate with are games. Immutable X is interested in games because that's the single most important metric that gives them, their project, value. Now, moving on to incentivize. I don't know a bigger platform in the world that allows you to incentivize your users, whether they are new or existing users, with NFTs without knowing any code than this project called Galax. So Galax has a booth here. We work with them a lot, not because we've known them for a while, but also because they really provide a seamless way for any project to create NFT campaigns. This allows you to reward your users, reward your new visitors, reward people who follow your Twitter account, for example, and sky's the limit. They are a technology platform, they are the hardware that allows projects like us to build our communities. And in terms of incentivization, another project that you may or may not have heard of that's trending on crypto Twitter right now is DBank. So DBank, in a nutshell, basically allows you to do a lot of on-chain research on wallets, on organizations, on maybe on some individuals. But my point here, putting DBank as an example, is that they have a very strong incentive scheme. They focus a lot of their marketing, of their community outreach on the leaderboard that they have. They're not even saying what's the point of being on the leaderboard other than getting some basic rewards. But the whole community in the DBank space is just saying that topping the leaderboard is going to let them qualify for potential airdrops. That's not even true, or is it? When nobody knows. But people are just incentivized to perform actions that give you the time and their attention when there is potentially something that attracts them. So create an incentivization scheme within your project, within your company, in order to attract not only new users, but to ensure that your existing users stay. Now, the third part of the community flywheel is engagement. Yeah, I know. I said I was trying to find examples that are not NFT projects in order to show you that this community flywheel works. But I love Pudgy Penguins. I cannot think of a project other than Pudgy's that has created the most engaging campaigns, whether they are online, whether they are on-chain, or whether they are offline, whether they are toys, whether they are plushies, or they're in the arcades or in the carnivals. Pudgy is everywhere. The Pudgy brand, the Pudgy IP is all over the place, in a good way. They're trying to engage with their holders and non-holders as well by using their IP and applying it all over the world. This doesn't take rocket science, but their focus, Luca's focus, is on engaging with their existing holders as well as the new people who don't know their brand. And finally, the fourth part of the flywheel is expand. In my humble opinion, I think nobody runs better affiliate campaigns and referral campaigns in the Web3 space than exchanges. I think we can take a leaf off the book of any exchange, any centralized exchange, especially when they're running referral programs or they're running trading competitions. When they list tokens, they have certain expectations from their project to bring them new users. These are amazing terms that they have created that helps these exchanges expand. Now, if you forgot any of the 6 examples that I brought you here today and you want to take one picture of this framework, this is the picture that you should take. The community flywheel is really very simple to apply. And anybody can do it for any project in this space. Follow these 4 steps, find a collaboration partner, incentivize your users, engage and expand with them, and hopefully you will be able to take your community somewhere. And I would really like to stay in touch when you do that, because I want to know how you applied this community flywheel, how you applied this framework. I want to see the results. Let's exchange some tips on Telegram, and I'll see you at the next bull run. Thanks very much.